Hello YouTube, Wilful Ninja here bringing you another nerdy video. I am partnered today with, once again, my good friend Blue, who will be discussing Necromancy and everything it entails. Such as, at the end of this video, we may even discuss builds. But in the most part, we'll be discussing just Necromancy in general. Thank you again for joining me, Blue, for this very moral, possibly, discussion.
As always, it's been a pleasure.
Blue, can you hear me?
Indeed I can.
Okay, I was just making sure. Because I said something to you and you didn't answer.
But I did.
Then maybe my mic was momentarily not working. Well, headset.
Who knows?
Now, the subject is necromancy. Now, why not we kick off straight away with the the pure fundamentalist description of necromancy as described in the player's handbook, and then we'll give our thoughts. Let's see what the players basically. Here's what the player handbook says about it. Let's then discuss. Now, I believe that section is in the spellcasting section, where it talks about each school.
It very well might, yes.
Here we go. Schools of Magic. There's the description. It's a small little sidebar when it's talking about the rules of casting spells. Okay, here's what it says. Necromancy spells manipulate the energies of life and dead. Such spells can grant an extra reserve of life force, drain the life energy from another creature, create the undead, or even bring the dead back to life. Creating the undead through the use of necromancy spells such as Animate Dead is not a good act, and only evil casters use such spells frequently. So, that is what it says specifically in terms of necromancy in the player's handbook. So, Blue, how would you look at what was said just there? Straight off the bat.
Well, I prefer to default to my usual stance on... Well, technically it's my usual stance on anything in particular, especially things that have... or tools, I should say, that have controversial atmospheres around them, such as necromancy and other world equivalents, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not the subject, topic, tools, or it's not whatever it is that's inherently evil or whatever, but that it's the people that use them and their intentions for it. Now, it's interesting, in my opinion, that they overtly state that Animate Dead, used frequently, is considered evil. And to some extent you could agree with that. Yeah, they might not even necessarily be saying the person itself is evil. However,
it's just the act.
Correctly, well, that, and the act itself, there are the gods and such in D&D specifically play a heavy role in the universe and the multiverse and whatnot. And certain acts are strictly viewed as wrong and are against the natural order of things and whatnot. Now, I mean, looking at something other than the lore of D&D, it gets a little more fuzzy. But in D&D specifically, there are the gods, and they do meddle, and they do have rules and laws, and animating dead corpses or whatever, does technically go against the natural order of things. However, in my opinion, it's still, as far as the character's concerned, it still depends on whether or not, their motives are.
So basically it's the act, it depends on why are you raising these undeads for. For example, let's look at something a bit more pop culture, another pop culture reference. A little bit outside D&D, but certainly generally in the ballpark of fantasy. We have the necromancers from Diablo. Now, that's an order completely centered around the worship of a specific angel. What was the name of the angel? Rathma, thank you. And that angel taught the art of necromancy to those the first necromancers, and their ideology is, hey, if the forces of hell and evil are not going to play fair, why should we? And this way, if the enemy is raising the dead, we'll just put them back down and we'll raise them ourselves to fight against the forces of evil.
And that actually brings up an interesting point, because as you probably discussed in your Paladin video, the Oath of Conquest, or, well, or that's not in the PHP, is it? So,
That's Xantar's
the
Guide.
Oath of Conquest.
I did cover Xantar's Guide in my class videos, so yeah, I did meant to talk about the Oath of Conquest, otherwise known as Hell Knights or Tyrant Knights.
Yes, which actually validates my point here, is that the general concept with the Oath of Conquest is essentially that we will achieve our ends at any means necessary.
Does not mean that the knights are necessarily evil, but they could be just an extreme sense of lawful, which, to be honest with you, let's face it, lawful evil is sort of like the tyrannical, like, let's maintain peace no matter the cost situation.
And actually, in a video done by D&D Beyond with an interview with, I think, Mike Merle, they were discussing that specific subclass, and they were saying that it was off that particular subclass could often be viewed as evil, as most, or often enough as far as they could consider, you know. The ends don't necessarily justify the means per se, but they feel their righteous cause or whatever it is validated in whatever they do to achieve it. So, I'm right, so I'm gonna talk to you, kind of thing. I mean, you know.
Yes. Now it's funny that you bring up Mike Merles. Is his name, or is it Morales?
Mike Merles, M-E-A-R.
Oh yeah, the name that I'm thinking of is actually a Spider-Man character. He's actually the Spider-Man after Peter Parker. Anyway, it's actually funny because let's get now. I have the same opinion generally as you, that necromancy is not necessarily inherently evil. It depends on the acts. Now, don't get me wrong. I still love playing my lawful evil necromancers, but there's one game which I'm really enjoying the idea of playing a chaotic good, I believe, or neutral it was, type of, it was chaotic good necromancer, because they break the taboos of, you know, not touching the dead to do good. But yeah, he serves the Raven Queen. Now, technically, you know, the Raven Queen, most would argue that the Raven Queen would be generally against that, but her main enemies are those that try and prolong their life. That's who her main enemies are. Not necessarily undead in and of itself, but those that try and use undead as a way of escaping the natural course of things. Such as,
and interestingly enough, in her lore, in the official release books, it does specifically state that she more targets things like vampires and liches.
Yes. Now, not all necromancers would seek lichdom. Not all necromancers do. For example, my character does not seek lichdom. He just seeks to atone for the sins that he did while serving a lich. And he vows to, since vampires and liches are going to use undead against him, he might as well fight fire with fire. And he would only rise, say, like an entire village, sort of, mass grave rob, to build an army, if it was last ditch effort to save potentially a city or whatever. Now, with that being said, folks, now again, we're talking about Animate Dead a lot. Now let's look at the fact that let's look at what people consider the pinnacle of good characters, shall we, for a moment, which I'm referring to as life clerics. Now, the thing is though, keep in mind, necromancy is a school of magic, not necessarily a specific set of spells. Now, that they're not just exclusive to necromancers. Other class, not even just exclusive to necromancers, not exclusive to wizards, but they are shown in nearly every spell category. spellcasting class, from bards all the way to wizards, and anything in between, such including clerics and I believe druids. Actually, no, maybe druids is the only spellcaster that does not get necromancy.
I believe that is correct, actually. Their spell reincarnation is, I believe, transmutation. Which is actually one thing I always love pointing out to people, is that when they try to make the argument that necromancy in and of itself is pure evil, they've failed to realize, as Willful here pointed out, reading from the book itself, the school itself is only to deal with the manipulation of life energy, which can raise the dead or resurrect people. If anybody bothers to actually read the spells in their school classification, all the resurrection spells, raise dead, resurrection, true resurrection, and even revivify, are all necromancy spells.
Exactly. Now, there's one recent tweet I would like to also now point out. Now, this is from Mike Merles. He is the sage advice person besides one other person. Let's see.
Jeremy Crawford.
And Christopher Perkins. There's three people, but Mike, he is one of the main people along with Christopher Perkins, I believe. Because I see them answering the questions a lot more often. Now, here's what Mark's...
That might be true, but Jeremy Crawford is the lead game designer from the Mechanics.
Fair enough. Now, here's what Mike Merles had to say. It's official. Today. Now, he keeps putting in, like, stops and whatnot. So I think he's trying to put as... It's hard to do a text, to put tone in. But I think he's trying to put it out there as much as possible that this is a firm stance he's trying to take on this. I am formally announcing my plan to decriminalize necromancy at the player's handbook level. It's time we allow dungeon masters once and for all to have the power to decide what works best for them. Someone replied, I tried to make a necromancer in my story / game, a chaotic good type who got a bit misguided. The party killed him even after he revived by turning into a skeleton, one of the party members' pets. Then Mike Merles replies, Dude, the same exact thing happened to me when I animated the Paladin's Holy Warhorse. I was like, yeah, it's an unholy blasphemy, but you get to keep using those awesome mounted combat feats you took on deaf ears. So, yeah, so Mike Merles is had enough. He's like, God damn it, people. There are necromancy spells like Revivify, True Resurrection, and Resurrection that are necromancy, and yet people just are like, no, necromancy, evil. So clearly, Mike Merles has had enough. Now, this is as recent as April 21st, folks. So which means maybe there be
only about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so this is not an old post that got swept under the rug. This is a fairly recent post. Now, here's another tweet from the person asks, is necromancy inherently evil? Is necromancy inherently evil in 5th edition? Will there be the possibility of neutral or even good necromancers? The guy asks. Mike Merle says, I don't believe the game casts necromancy as inherently evil. So, there you go. Once again, necromancy is not evil from the mouth of Mike Merles. And the folks says, that is not even a new tweet either. That is going back as far as 2014.
I think a couple of interesting things. I mean, alright, a skeletal horse or whatever, mounts and pets. Come on, everybody thinks that's cool.
Yes, think about how bad your paladin would be, as he'd be able to charge into saving people without having to worry about his horse ever getting tired again.
There's that too, but WoW did it with the Death Knights. They have the skeletal flying horses or whatever, and that's badass.
Exactly.
But then we're also contending with the other thing here. It's a lot of the official books, they're written, especially the more lore-heavy sections or the flavor sections that aren't directly related to mechanics specifically, a lot of the books, or if not all of them, especially the supplements, are written from the perspective of the general consensus of the world, i.e., Faerun, generally speaking, or
Exactly.
Tyrell, because that's the whole planet. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that to contend with. So, it just somebody could misinterpret that some of the flavor.
As
I
being
mean, like,
firm rules. And again, now I know.
well, not only that, but it does say both in the player's handbook and in the Dungeon Master's Guide that the DM has final say and can do basically whatever they want. I mean, it's an open thing. So, them to take it, and I mean, I can see how a lot of people, it's usually painted as not
Yes,
very great.
and
But,
yes.
again,
Now here's another thing. Now again, I mostly cited from Mike Merles, but here's Christopher Perkins as well. Now, folks. One person asked Chris Perkins, a little confused on necromancy. Is it considered an evil regardless? What if a neutral good life cleric uses it for good? Christopher Perkins replies, spells and schools of magic don't have alignments or alignment. Necromancy spells can be used for good. Example, resurrection.
precisely. And again, that basically exactly says what I said earlier, and that's the means or tools that you use are not inherently good or evil.
Yeah.
They literally cannot have alignment, as they are simply tools.
Yes. Now, don't get me wrong.
Wielded by both an evil paladin or dark whatever, I don't know. Like, a sword could be wielded by some super badass jerkwad that's trying to take over the world. Or
Yep.
it could be wielded by the super good radiant light guy, person, whatever you want to play as, trying to defeat said jerkwad.
Yes. Now, again, don't get me wrong. Like, many societies set in Faerun, and let's face it, in most fantasy settings, do generally have a taboo on touching the dead. D&D does have its own world location where necromancy is actually allowed, and not only that, they proudly mark it on their foreheads. Now, in that type of
regulate it.
Yeah, they regulate it, exactly. They regulate. Now, in my world, I pushed it a little bit further with having the ruling lich, actually, be good. And there's laws where they have to, which is sort of debatable because he took the power away from the Red Wizards and has now allowed even merchants to join the ruling council that rules over the city. So therefore, maybe he's not evil. The thing is, the city of Tay is apparently often at war or fighting against demons. So therefore, as a society of wizards, clearly one of them was, maybe it was the king who eventually became the lich who rules the city. Maybe he was like, oh shit, we keep getting attacked by these fucking demons. You know what, guys? We have all these corpses laying around. Let's fucking use them.
And that actually brings, I mean, this might be getting more up to like a numbers game kind of deal, but like, to an extent, it kind of like takes a little bit of the silent approach from Battlestar Galactica, where they have invented resurrection when one of their bodies or one of their soldiers or whatever the hell dies, right? Its consciousness is downloaded to a new body. Now, the advantages of that, and the advantages of just reanimating things, right, is all that experience that you have to take to train that particular individual. Ordinarily, without these things, they die, it's gone, all that time wasted. And if you're fighting demons, for example, demons are very powerful, especially if you're just mere mortals and not adventurers and so on, whatever. It's definitely going to cost you in lives. And why not just be able to bring that person back, or whatever, or in the case of the Lich, for example, perhaps take up Lichdom to keep living so he can continue his knowledge and research and whatever he was doing in order to find better ways and more efficient ways to win this war against demons or whatever.
Now,
I mean, like, if he were to just die, right, all of that work and whatever he was thinking that may or may not have been written down would die with him, So,
mind you though, there is a faction from Tay known as Red Wizards. Now, it's clear that they are generally evil, don't get me wrong. They are an evil group of necromancers, but because so little adventures have taken place in Tay, who's not to say that the city of Tay or the Lich of Tay does not actually not like the Red Wizards. Maybe they're trying to take back power from the merchants and wizards that are currently ruling the city. Because again,
And as a DM, you can take any of those angles.
exactly, because we don't have the knowledge. Now, also, speaking of lichdom being some sort of used for good, there actually is a group, elves, actually do have liches that are good and that they refer to as guardians. They're called, I found this up when I was doing my research, Belrons or something like that. Basically, it's an elf who achieved lichdom. Now, again, apparently elves have a very interesting relationship with undead. Like because they see death not as the same way as other mortals do, because their souls linger on the material plane for much longer. So often, elven necromancers would actually use speak with dead or perform some sort of rite to actually communicate with the dead and be like, "Hey, it's okay if I use your body. Yeah, come on, you know." But yeah, again, that's how the same thing can be done with general necromancers if they get written permission. Like that's how I have it in Tay. Like there's sanctioned necromancy and unsanctioned necromancy. The unsanctioned, I believe, is being carried out by the Red Wizards. Because if this Lich was a big, tyrannical, evil ruler, why would he allow merchants to now be part of the council that, decide the laws over Tay?
One thing that kind of interests me, like you were saying, elves that have reached lichdom or obtained. That intrigues me because elves, while yes, the PHP says up to 700, 700 is a fracking long time. But not only that, it's easily plausible for them to live longer than that, possibly a couple thousand years. I do that in my games, as like high elves specifically, typically at least can probably go around 2,000-ish. Again, that's just their age, they could still be stabbed in the freaking heart.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm kind of wondering what the benefits of, as an elf, what the benefits of wanting to reach lichdom as you would live an extravagantly long amount of time anyway, as just an elf.
I believe it's more
forever with us lich, but still.
Well, see, lichdom is not just about immortality. It's also about there's certain magic over undead that only liches can achieve. Like a mere necromancer is. Don't get me wrong. A necromancer, for example, an elf. Again, there's the old D&D joke. Don't fuck with an old wizard. Don't fuck with. Especially don't fuck with an old elven wizard. But yeah, an elf who lives, say, like, let's say 1,000 or so years studying necromancer, yeah, he could achieve lots of powerful magic. But because of life, there's certain magics that revolve around necromancy that he can only, read about. He cannot actually use. Now, mind you, this depends on the general game, but that is generally the consensus about liches, that they have access to certain spells involving life and death that a normal necromancer can never reach.
I would say they have certain abilities, such as they're paralyzed to touch, for example. But I feel like that's possibly more of a mechanical.
Yeah, I'm talking about fluff. I'm more referring to the fluff. Now, but yeah, but the thing is though, those elven liches are not considered evil. They're considered guardians by elven societies. So that means it's mostly a human, or maybe also a dwarven, ideology that, oh, you're doing something to a corpse, you must be evil. Like, if it's for the betterment, if it's to protect others, why is it not as why? If killing a person in the name of protecting someone is good, why is not used like animating a skeleton that's been dead for centuries not considered a good thing if it's done for the exact same reason? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, again, this brings up an issue I have with generally one of the members of Nerdarchy, because whenever Necromancy gets mentioned, he goes crazy about like it's evil and whatnot, and he's very adamant about that. But again, the writers of and the designers of Wizards who designed 5th edition are saying, yeah, no, it isn't. But don't get me wrong, I understand where he's coming from, because you have all the movies, video games, and so forth that generally paint necromancers as evil. But, as I said, and as Blue has said, it is simply a tool. Now, there's some interesting let's be honest with you, 5th edition has not been, up until Xanathar's Guide, 5th edition has not been good for necromancers. Would you agree with me, Blue?
I would say that Xanathar's opened absolutely wide the door for better necromancers in general and better access to necromancy. I mean, the amount of spells they had, just absolutely.
Well, that wasn't my question. My question was, do you think before Xanathar's Guide, 5th edition was good for player necromancers?
I'll put it this way. I think prior to Xanathar's, a necromancer, at best you could probably do maybe 3 out of 5 stars. But you can get like 4.5, maybe 5 stars with Xanathar's.
Fair enough. I feel like it was very... Don't get me wrong, the potential...
But you know what? Compared to other thematic things, it wasn't worth doing prior to Xanathar's. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, thematic reasons, yeah, it was definitely very high up there to do. But in terms of mechanically, playing a necromancer was extremely difficult, because your Grim Harvest is still a useful ability once you reach second level, because it works with any school of magic, which is funny enough because its main ability only really kicks off when you reach, I believe, access to 7th level magic, which is Finger of Death. That's where it kicks off, because most damage dealing necromancy spells is either a 1st level or, as I said, Finger of Death. Which is, again, odd that they put in like a special mark in, like, oh yeah, if you kill someone with Ray of Sickness or Finger of Death, essentially, you get this amount of health back. Whereas all the other necromancy spells for wizards was either raising the dead or you were doing something with souls, such as putting your... Again, when I say doing something with souls, I meant your soul, because you're doing something with your soul. For example, Magic Jar. That is your character putting your own soul into a jar.
Yeah.
Now, again, that...
Which, creatively used, could have very interesting results.
Oh, yeah.
However... That's something you would have had to think about prior.
Yeah, the necromancy, that's the thing I was about to get to. No, don't get me wrong, Blue, I've crunched the numbers. Now, it's my break, for me personally, it's my break glass in case of emergency plan. Like, again, if my character knew we were going up against, say, an ancient dragon or this big, huge threat, beforehand, like we had a few days to prepare for it. My character, if I was sticking to the bit, like just for numbers rather than power, like quantity over quality, you could actually get up to like not 100, about 40 or so skeletons or zombies, or any mixture of the two. Now, that is powerful in terms of controlling, the encounter in terms of numbers, but as Blue liked to point out, though, yeah, it will give you the numbers, but a few quick fireballs, and that's all she wrote. But the timing, everything about a necromancer in 5th edition prior to Xanathar's requires you to plan out ahead. And Animate Dead takes a long time to cast. It takes 1 minute. You can't use that in combat.
And timing. and also, like, you have to account for your plans actually working. As Tals and Jaffe has said best, no plan um, survives contact with the enemy.
Exactly.
And I've seen, I don't know how many times, their own plans, my own plans, Willful's own plans, any of his players, my players, it never works out as you plan it. No matter how
Exactly.
carefully you plan it, it's always going to end up pear-shaped somewhere, somehow.
Now, I do like the fact, though, they sort of buffed Necromancy in 5th edition before Xanatars, with the information that skeletons and zombies have proficiency in armor and weapons. All. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes them more viable. Like, I could outfit my skeletons with plate armor and bows, maybe.
It costs an absolute fortune.
It does.
Not to mention the cost of materials to animate them in the
Exactly.
first
But so again, yeah, folks. So again, folks, it wasn't. As you can see, it clearly was not the best thing. Now, again, it was doable. There were, if you're clever, you could disguise your skeletons or zombies, with plate armor, to hide their bodies, or you can do what I plan to do with Dimension Door, which is basically create a special Dimension Door. Sorry, it was not Dimension Door. It was Demiplane. You create a special Demiplane room to store your undead. Now, again, yes, but that's you using up a spell slot to open up the door and then, to have your things run out.
and it's a 7th level spell slot, and if I remember correctly, it still takes time to cast.
Does Demiplane count them to cast?
It might only be in action. I thought it might be a minute, though. I'm not sure.
Now, anyway,
Offhand.
now, all of this, though, is heavily mitigated with the introduction to Xanatar's Guide. Now, there is one spell in this book that completely revitalized playing a Necromancer. Like, for those of you who watch my channel, know I'm a big anime fan. And one of the animes that I grew up really loving to watch was Shaman King. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shaman King was about, people using spirits to amplify their physical capabilities or the capabilities of their weapons. Now, they bonded with one particular soul. There was a character called, I think Faust was his name. He was based off this big medieval character that existed in the Middle Ages who made a deal with a devil. Now, this guy, he was in this anime, he was a shaman, and he used the spirit of his wife to help him in combat. Now, he wanted to become Shaman King so he could bring her back. He was an extremely good character. He was extremely loyal to all his friends, and he would do anything to protect them and support them. Now, whereas all the other characters used weapons to fight, he's a very tall guy. He's a very lanky and tall guy. In his trench coat, he carried his wife's skeleton. And he placed her soul back into it to fight. Now, she was okay with this. She could communicate, like, shamans were able to communicate with their guardian spirits. And she was okay with this, and they often worked together in the competition. You can, thanks to Xanatar's Guide, you can pretty much play that type of Necromancer. And I'll get to that in a second. Blair, do you have any thoughts?
No, man, I haven't seen any of that.
Well, you know the spell I'm referring to anyway.
Which one?
I butcher pronunciation. It's Dens Macabre. Macabre. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm well aware of that spell, and that is quite a fantastic spell, especially as we were just discussing the exorbitant amount of planning you would have ordinarily had to do if you don't have anything that planned suddenly an encounter, suddenly whatever that requires it, and it just so happens to end up being a few, dead bodies lying around.
Or if you have a bag,
you could just plunk this up.
Yeah, there's also the idea of, hey, I have skeletons in my bag of holding. Turn it upside down. You could totally play that type of character. But yeah, this spell, again, as Blue says, it takes exorbitant amount of time. I think it's a minute to cast Animate Dead, and I believe it's more than a minute for create Undead. Now, mind you, though, there is limitations on CR, Now, here's a really good spell for necromancers. And again, as I said, it allows you to essentially play a Klaus-like character. Think about it this way. Your character, now, skeletons are not overly heavy sometimes. But let's say you carry like a small... If your character always walked around, let's say, with a box with him, you know? Now, again, there was a character that... There have been characters like this before in animes and stories. But let's say you're in a fight and you're a necromancer. There's no undead bodies around. You can literally just plop your box or bag or whatever, you know, on the ground, whichever you want. And you could literally just be like, yep, spend an action to cast this one spell. It's one action, range 60 feet. Components V and S. So already it is way more useful than even Animate Dead. Animate Dead is more if you want an entourage, or if you want them to be on your control for 24 hours. Now, this does have a duration though. Concentration up to 1 hour, so you would have to sort of play it. You'll have to be more careful and tactically. But it's basically what happens is you decide whether it's a zombie or skeleton. Sorry. Threads of dark power leap from your fingers to pierce up to 5 small or medium corpses. See, this is where it gets really better. Because, Blue, do you have your player's handbook handy?
I can in a moment's notice.
Please read out the components and the spell description. Sorry, actually, Bo, of Animate Dead. Because there is a key note that I would like to mention.
Just give me a second.
Okay. But yeah, folks, I'll continue reading this spell while he's doing that. You can see within range. Each corpse immediately stands up and becomes undead. You decide whether it's a zombie or skeleton. And it gains a bonus to its attack and damage rolls equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. You can use a bonus action to mentally command the creatures you make with the spell, issuing the same command to all of them. To receive the command, a creature must be within 60 feet of you. You decide what action the creatures will take and where they will move during their next turn. Or you can issue a general command such as guard a chamber or pass straight against your foes. If you issue no commands, the creatures do nothing except defend themselves against hostile creatures. Once given an order, the creatures continue to follow it until their task is complete. The creatures under your control until the spell ends, which they become inanimate once more. When you cast a spell using a spell slot of 6 or higher, you animate up to 2 additional corpses for each slot above 5. So again, unlike Animate Dead, which Blue, there's a part in Animate Dead which I would like Blue to read out, which I'll point out to him when he gets to that bit. But one unuseful thing about Animate Dead is it lasts 24 hours. You only maintain your control for 24 hours, in which you must re-exert your control by recasting the spell.
I don't remember what spell level that particular spell you were just talking about is, but this is a 3rd level spell, and only clerics, oddly enough, and wizards get it.
I'm talking about Animate Dead.
Yeah, I am.
Alright, well...
Clerics and wizards get Animate Dead. It's a 3rd level spell. Minute to cast.
Yep.
Range of 10 feet.
Yep.
It's verbal, somatic, and material, but not a gold cost. So an arcane focus would supplement the drop of blood and flesh that you would need. And its duration is actually instantaneous, because once the casting's done, it's just...
Yeah, that's more to reflect the fact that technically zombies and skeletons that can actually enter anti-magic fields. Like, you can't just dispel magic dispel spell or, anti-magic field zombies and skeletons for some strange reason. By the way, the thing is in the spell description.
What specifically are you looking for? There's like 4 paragraphs.
Okay, it's about the target of the spell.
Well, let's see. The spell creates an undead servant. Choose a pile of bones or a corpse of a medium or small humanoid within range.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, there's that. But then also, if you cast at higher levels, you can also target more. Hold on.
It increases the number.
When you cast a spell at using a spell slot at 4th level or higher, you animate or
Reinsert.
reassert whatever. Reassert control over 2 additional undead creatures for its slot level above 3rd. So for each slot level above. So if you cast it at 4th, you actually can do 3 instead of only 1, 5th, 5, whatever, so on.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is now, as the spell that I've read out describes, it's any corpse, small or medium, and also it's any corpse, as I said. Whereas Animate Dead was more restricted on humanoids. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of humanoids in the world, but the thing is though, you couldn't really target goblins because they have the tagline "Goblinoid." Which,
Yeah.
so, therefore, and again, some people argued, I've actually had some people even argue humanoid only refers to humans. I was like, no. Get that out of there. But anyway, the main point is, that spell, no, it's a 5th level spell, don't get me wrong, so you begin at much later than, Animate Dead. But
That's on 9th level.
yeah, but the point is, that's Animate Dead was essentially your main necromancer spell. If you're playing a more traditional necromancer, and then when I say traditional, I don't mean evil, I mean, raising the dead. You're very limited. To, like, now at most you could walk around while maintaining one spell slot a day. You could maintain control over 3 corpses. But the problem with that was travelling around with them. Now, don't get me wrong, there are ways around it, and it's fun, but it's not always viable. Whereas with the spell that I've read out, once you reach level 9, you could store, like in a bag of holding. What was the upgraded version of the bag of holding?
Portable hole?
Thank you. You could use that. Essentially, you had the potential to just walk around with bones or bodies. Actually, no, not even bones or bodies, like specifically, because it says any corpse, and you get to choose whether it becomes a skeleton or not. So if you even have a corpse, like, you could describe that the flesh melts away and you get a skeleton.
Or disintegrates into ash. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah, either way, like. But the point is though, it made necromancers very viable. Now, obviously, there's as DMs, me or Blue could obviously change some stuff around. I myself have reflavored 2 spells to give my character more of a thematic necromancer like spell casting instead of handed.
You know what else we could also discuss? Possibly the necromancer weapon that I just...
Yes, I was actually. This was my QA to go to mention it. Segue, yeah, to talk about it. But yeah, I created 2 alternate versions of 2 iconic spells in Dungeons and Dragons, which are Necromancy, and they fit the theme of me playing a necromancer. I call it Spirit Barrage, which uses the rules for Magic Missile. It uses the dice as well, folks. Except it just changes the damage from Force to Necrotic, which one of my friends argues is a bit more of a nerf, due to the fact that very little things are immune to or resistant to Force, if any at all. Whereas some things can be. Hold on a sec, folks. Yeah. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that, folks. As I was saying, I replaced very few things are resistant to necrotic, but I think nothing is resistant to Force. So I've actually had my friends be like, "You just sort of nerfed Magic Missile a bit for yourself." I was like, "Maybe, but it's cool." and then
although, like, how you said that deals necrotic.
Yeah, it deals necrotic.
Could heal, maybe, as a unnerf, I don't know. like Soul Siphon or something. Back like from like an ability from warlocks back in the day from World of Warcraft, where they would harvest the life energy from their enemies, and they would actually heal them a small amount.
Well, either way,
It automatically hit. So
well, either way, this was my little reflavor. I also reflavored Fireball into something called Dark Vortex. That took a lot of experimentation because one aspect was I was thinking of making it a flaming skull, which exploded after my character tossed it. But in the end, I decided to go with a swirling black vortex that basically sort of like sucked out the energy of the target's souls. Basically, you were basically.
I remember helping with that design.
Yes, yes. We changed it from a dex save to a con save, and it again just changed the damage type from fire to necrotic. So yeah, as DMs, we can take the tiniest little reskins, and you can make completely viable. Again, this is because I felt that Grim Harvest was a bit of a meh, considering. Oh, yeah, you're encouraged to use your necromancy spells, but there's so little necromancy spells that actually deal damage. I'm trying to remember some to myself right now. Again, all I can think of is Finger of Death and Ray of Sickness. That's about it. Sometimes even
Here's an interesting note if anybody's concerned, perhaps, like for that reskin, if anybody's concerned about like balance. If you think about it, because Fireball, like a lot of stuff tends to be either resistant or immune to fire. Like the elemental damage is fire, cold, lightning, thunder. Yeah, thunder tend to be some of the more commonly resistant things, besides from bludgeon, piercing, exhaustion, and magic. But making it necrotic means a lot less stuff's going to be resistant to it. However, a lot more things, a lot more monsters anyway, are more likely to pass a Constitution saving throw than a Dex saving throw, especially larger opponents.
Okay, yeah. So basically, Xanthars, I think, actually increased the number of damaging spells for Necromancy. I'm not sure. I feel like Negative Energy Flood is a damaging spell.
Yes it is.
Soul Cage is not. That's basically an interrogation one. And then there's also Horrid Wilting.
Yeah, Abidalzim's Horrid Wilting, I think or Withering, I think it is.
Yep. So, okay, so Necromancy actually did add some expanded...
Oh! And you cannot forget, and this is very important, mind, because before now, it was only thought that druids, bards, possibly rangers, possibly paladins, and definitely life clerics were the only ones that could heal, as they were the only ones that had access to such things as healing word or cure wounds, or similar.
Oh, life transference!
This adds, yes, life transference, which allows you to take necrotic damage and heal your target for double that amount. Granted, as starting at, I think it was a 3rd or 4th level spell slot, and then adds a die their slot after you don't cast a high level, blah blah blah. But that gives a necromancer, say you want to play a wizard necromancer that's good, right? And all he knows is how to manipulate life energy with necromancy. Well, now he can also heal the party with and support.
Actually,
with
that makes me curious. What is Cure Wounds? What is that labeled as?
evocation. All of those are evocation.
Oh, okay. But either way, though,
Which is even funnier because most people wouldn't presume that kind of thing, because evocation is usually the thing associated with, I mean, all the damaging spells, fire,
oh yeah,
chain lightning, ball, etc. Those things are evocation. But evocation is just to evoke things into existence, kind of a deal. Not exactly conjuration, it's more of a like summoning something from one place to another.
Yeah.
Where evocation is raw, just I guess you could say it's conjuring, but conjuring of energy. I don't know. It's a little complicated.
You're essentially creating something from nothing.
Yeah, it's more so on that.
But yeah, folks, like, again, we've... now, in terms of... Now, me and Blue, again, we both agreed that Necromancer was a bit meh before Xanathar's Guide. So we both took our own approach to essentially give it that oomph to make it more viable. Now, I reflavored some spells, whereas Blue actually did something very interesting. and it's by far it's in every single one of my games. Even if none of my characters are ever going to get it, even if it's sometimes wielded by the enemy, and that is a really cool magical item in the form of what used to be called. I think they were in earlier editions called, but they were designed to level up with a character. And
They're still called Legacy items.
yeah. Was that what they were always called? I just thought that's what you called them.
That's what I mean. Legacy item is what I call it. Back in 3.5 or whatever, they had a thing called Legacy Weapons that was exclusively weapons, and it worked a little bit differently, as those things were literally weapons of legend. Like, say, like in your D&D game, you would come across, say, the Excalibur or something as a notable legendary weapon that people typically know from real life, or well, real legends anyway.
Yeah.
Something like that, something that already has history. Whereas I designed it as I took the idea from scaling, from that kind of idea, but a little bit differently. It's a little more powerful yet less powerful, and also added things like, well, actually no, but anyway, the idea of my legacy items aren't necessarily that they already have a legacy or history or whatever. A DM could add it if they so choose, and that's awesome. But it kind of like more the idea that this thing has innate power or connection to something that gives the character more power to create.
Also, yeah, I was just about to say that, or you can actually or your character could give this item its legacy, like what it's famous about. Like, again, now you called it the Sight of Souls, and not only is it meant for not only does it buff up the idea of playing a necromancer, but you actually made it a requirement to be a wizard of necromancy.
Yes, as that would be the person who has the most access to the things required in order to actually utilize that item the best. Like, it's designed to be somebody of that kind of mindset. So,
Yeah.
like, it won't really work well enough, so I put the restriction on it.
Yeah.
Like I do with some of my stuff.
Now, also, you when you made this item, you also created an actual site for the use of just general. So it doesn't even have to be the Sight of Souls. Like, you actually put down the sight as being a finesse. Now, again, some people may argue with you saying a sight being a finesse weapon. Clearly, you have never seen a Kurisari Gama, which is sometimes referred to as a one-handed sight.
But this isn't a Kurisari Gama, nor is it a one-handed sight. This is a two-handed.
True. Well, then, I would like to bring Exhibit A, Ruby.
She has finesse. Come on, you've seen her.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. She is proof that you can use a sight as finesse, and also pretty much any bow staff user. Like, they could literally imagine a monk with a sight. Like, they're already lethal enough with a staff. Now just give them a staff with a fucking curved blade on it.
Now, realistically, the reason I made it finesse is sights are usually used more as precision instruments, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it's not just like a hack and slash kind of weapon. So generally, you're going to be wanting to target something, especially because the way the blades typically are with sides. If you just try and hack and slash, you're not really going to do much of anything.
Yeah, you need to aim for those limbs.
You need to go for something specific. So that's the main reason why I actually get the finesse.
To be honest with you, I can imagine at some point. Now, again, if I was playing a necromancer, like if I was feeling more of an anime feel, like don't get me wrong, I love the description of your Sight of Souls, but if I was feeling like a particular anime feeling, I would probably describe the sight from Naruto, which was wielded by a Toski member called Hidan. Wait, yeah, it was Hidan. He had like a sight with 3 blades on it. It was designed to make sure you cut your opponent. Like, each blade was a different length. The longest blade was at the top, and then it got shorter, as the other 2 blades, were there. Like, now again,
Yeah.
his whole thing was, funny enough, his character was actually referred to as the zombie, but basically, because he was immortal, you could not kill him. And what he did was he would use his sight to make sure he cuts you. Again, that's why each blade is a different length, so that way as he passes you, the chances of you getting at least a small cut would increase. He would then ingest your blood, his whole body would turn black with some sort of like skeletal pattern. He'll then make a ritual circle and then give himself a lethal injury. Which, again, through his blood magic, you would end up suffering. So if he gets a drop of your blood and then does his ritual circle and then stabs himself in the heart, your heart is the one that gets stabbed. But again, thematic wise, I loved the design of his sight. It was really cool, and he was definitely a finesse fighter. So yeah, that's actually another thing. Most anime actually depicts, actually a lot of things actually, not just anime, depict sight users as being very finesse-based fighters. Now that I think about it, like, holy god, there's actually a lot of them.
It's just in the style of that type of weapon. I mean, like, again, like, a great sword is definitely not going to be finesse. But sides are usually, again, it may look like a larger weapon because usually they have, I don't know, usually like a 4 or 5 foot long shaft, right? And then, but they got this usually I think about 2 foot, maybe 3 foot blade. But like, it wields more like a short sword on the end of a stick.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, the design of the weapon itself.
It's actually...
I'm no medieval weapons expert.
It's actually, no. It'd be actually more closer to a pike or a spear, except whereas then you're just trying to stab at something, whereas with the sight you're trying to actually...
Except for pikes and spears tend to be up to 8 to 10 feet, or possibly 12 feet
Yeah.
long, with a large, slightly bulky, pokey thing at the end.
Yeah, but my point is, technically, it'll be more reminiscent of them, with the exception that, again, with them, you are trying to pierce something, whereas with the sight, you're more trying to cut off a limb, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, folks, it's a really amazing item. Like, it has... Again, it really plays into the idea of you're going to raise skeletons. And it has really cool abilities, like, for example, you can skeletify a corpse by stabbing the blade into the corpse. It turns the flesh and organs and whatnot into bone. It can actually absorb skeletons into it to a maximum, I believe, of 5 it was. You slash at the ground or like basically you're creating like a small portal by slashing at something, and then your skeletons come out. Now, then there's the ability to create like a skeletal horse, which then eventually, as you level up, you can create like a winged skeletal horse. And that...
Yes, which I added actually because of Xanathar's with greater flying speed.
Yeah, which is absolutely amazing. And then there's my personal favourite, Necromantic Empowerment and Greater Rise. Greater Rise is basically you sacrificing your multiple corpses that are inside your sight to create one giant skeleton from the Tales of the Island Portal. Now, again, I refer to this as the real Repulse shenanigans, where you create a giant skeleton and then you cast Enlarge on it. And the reason why I refer to it as, for those of you that are from the 90s generation, the reason why I refer to... 90s Fox generation of television. Yous were probably... When I say Rita Repulsa, I'm referring to the first Power Ranger villain who basically would throw her magic staff down onto the world and make her monsters grow, which was literally her catchphrase. Make my monsters grow. But yeah, basically you just create basically a gargantuan size skeleton, which is now again mechanically maybe not the best idea because technically you can only temporarily control the giant skeleton. But just picture the fight though, folks. A gargantuan size giant skeleton fighting a gargantuan size ancient dragon. Like,
I will admit, some inspiration for this whole thing came from German Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you ever seen the show, you see that he slices his sight through the air into reality and opens portals to stuff. Yeah, that was kind of about it.
Okay.
Just, I don't know, the usage of a sight is just fantastic. Of course, I saw that before Ruby even came out, so...
Fair enough. Now, again, as I said, we both have some very interesting ideas about the site. For me, I'm just dreaming of one day watching basically a Megazord, a skeleton Megazord fighting off against a giant, like, dragon or something. Like, it's a simple dream. It's very simple. But yeah, folks. Now there are often some builds you could easily do with necromancers. One of which being the most obvious, and it's done to death with wizards, which is why I generally avoid it like the plague. Elf wizard, any elf wizard. I generally avoid that like the plague, just because most people play that just so they can get their weapon proficiency.
Interesting. I've seen more commonly human. Which with human, if you do the variant, you can get the feat, which you can take skill to also get more proficient. Well, actually, the same number. You can get 3.
Mm. No, don't get me wrong though. I just love playing Tiefling because, well, folks, I'm a huge fan of devils and demons. But like, again, it's just a fun idea, especially if you take into consideration with Xantar's guide, given the possibility that your parent is a devil. Now I further improve on that, which is actually allowed in Adventures League.
That's not coming out until Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
Oh yeah, I know. But apparently it's legit in Adventurers League. I asked the DMs about it before I did it. I rolled to see if my parent was an archdevil. He was an archdevil. They were like, okay, roll for which layer. They did say they're not allowing. They have to roll a d8, so that excludes the 9th layer of hell, so I can't have Asmodeus. But I got the 8th layer, which is funny because in another campaign.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, because in another campaign, but I'm surprised it's actually completely legit. That you can be a son or daughter of an archdevil, sure.
I personally am not as much of a fan of that, or even on the converse of that, being an Azamar and being some sort of god or celestial of some kind. But
well,
it's mostly because I usually like to keep to the material plane, personally.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Azamar, I wouldn't say you're a god, but you're close to demigod, I would say.
Well, it's the celestial equivalence.
Yeah.
And Asmodeus is in fact a god.
Yeah, he's an angel that became a god, essentially.
Long story, but yeah.
Yeah. I love Asmodeus. He's like the fact, like he fucked over heaven, like the heaven aligned gods so badly.
But not exactly how that happened, but
he was clever.
I mean, his creation and purpose, and I guess you could say programming, basically what he was designed to do. Because a lot of the angels of purpose were created, that they misjudged how stringent he was. I mean, basically, if you think about from Futurama, the robot Santa, and the parameters for being good were set way too high, that's essentially what happened.
And in all fairness, though, he was also created, wasn't he, to deal with the demons, wasn't he?
Partly, yeah. He was the angel of justice. I feel like we're getting off.
Yeah. Sorry, moving on. But yeah, so yeah, folks, there are many interesting builds you can do with necromancers. Again, as I said, the Tiefling is also interesting because again, there's a whole layer of hell which draws on, which sort of targets more arcane, persuaded races or souls, mind you. Specifically, it's Kanya, the frozen layer of hell.
I'll never figure out how that F to pronounce.
Yeah. Anyway, it's ruled by Mephistopheles. Now there's also some other builds you can do. There is the classic human, which that leads to an idea of playing a character that is trying to pursue lichdom, for depending on the reasons. For example, I generally like playing the Orochimaru approach to why my character would want lichdom or immortality through necromancy, and that is because it's not because he wants to rule, it's just that, I want to learn everything there is to know about magic. throughout the world and multiplanes.
This actually reminds me of a story that I wrote
Is this
as an overview that I think you read.
that was the one with the was this the one with the child raising his family, or is this the guy who was just trying to study magic and then there was a plague inside the city, which was the mayor was okay with? You sent me.
You got a little bit of the details mixed up on the second thing, but they're both the same thing.
Okay.
But long story short, was a half-elf character. Reason for half-elf was actually plot-related. But yes, his village did get wiped out from a disease that only affected humans, which is what he and the elves in the area survived. But then, in his being a young prodigy wizard inclined in the arcane arts, studied magic, and in his youthful abandon of haste, basically found necromancy first, as he was at a wizard school, and so they're not really going to cover clerical things, so we didn't find that until later. But basically, didn't realize what he was getting himself into, as far as, like, because basically all he wanted to do was bring his family back.
Now,
He found necromancy and didn't properly research it to realize that what it was going to do is not what he wanted.
Yeah. Mind you, though, if he took the necromancy approach from the cleric's point of view, then he would have gotten what he wanted.
Yes, but again, he went to the arcane first. We're trying to talk about the clerical stuff. But
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing, and if you think about it, it also kind of furthers the validation or point, or furthers the discussion at any rate on the morality or whatever, right or wrong versus necromancy. I mean, and to this extent, he considers necromancy to be evil. So, I mean, as a plot point, he eventually comes into a necromancer that, runs into a necromancer, I should say, that's not evil in that sense, but because he was young and didn't properly do his research and whatever, and did something with disastrous results, he thinks that it's evil, but I don't know. It's an interesting thing if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, but that's, again, folks, it's just really interesting that, like, that to this point, like, again, Mike Merle's, like, let's look at some of the tweets where he mentions that it's not evil. I think the earliest one was 2014.
You looked at those already.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of how long this guy's been certainly trying to, point out there, like people asked this question, like, going back as far as 2014, and people have been, like, again, these guys have been saying it is not evil, and yet to this day, like 4 years later, folks, we still have, like, major people, like, again, this is a bit of I know I might be taking a shot, Nerdarchy. I don't intend to, but it's actually just people in general who play D&D. But it's just that it's a shame that Nerdarchy has a member on. Like, again, I'm glad that now they all have their own opinions, and their own opinions in their games, yeah. But when they're this guy is putting it out there as this is a firm thing, and there's people like that's, and there's also Dawnforge who also does it, like,
I mean, there's people in general with anything and ever. I mean,
true,
religion, for example. But, like, people are entitled to their opinions.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Yes.
People are entitled to their opinions. However, I mean, I agree with you. One thing I don't particularly like about people, and humans do this in general, and then there's other humans who don't do it, but they religiously follow other people that have a strong enough opinion. Whatever, But, like, spreading their opinion as if it's their irrefutable, verifiable fact.
Exactly.
I mean, they're welcome to then follow that opinion.
Oh, yes. Like, again,
It's always like a catch-22.
yeah. Now, as I said, the main issue that I had with, again, this guy, with Nerdarchy and Dawnforge, is that they're presenting, like, yeah, necromancy is evil, enough said. That, like, it's like when it's the reason why I had a certain issue with another. I'm on an unnamed channel. I'm going to say unnamed channel because I don't, this is not what this channel's about. It's not about bashing other channels. Because I'm a huge supporter of Nerd Arcade. Like, I watch their videos relentlessly. Even their comic ones where they D&D-ized comic book characters. But when one of their members is like, no, necromancy is evil, it's like when that one unnamed channel said paladins must, now again, and I use the words must always be lawful good, and then when people disagreed with him on the comment section, like, he was just overly rude and disrespectful.
Can you disable comments?
I'm not. What? What did you say, Blue?
Didn't he also disable comments on that?
I believe on one of his videos, yeah, but I'm not sure if that was the one. But the thing is, though, this is a guy who has a big following, and he's basically, trying to put his opinion as fact, and he often even trashes Wizards of the Coast, saying that they do a horrible job. Now, he is on the same boat as like necromancy must be evil, but 4 years ago, folks, it was said no, it isn't. Now again, if you're the DM of your table, yeah, you can have your world be like, view necromancy as evil, but you have to also acknowledge the fact that if you say necromancy is evil, then don't just be like, oh yeah, animate dead. Don't just single out. Sorry, don't single out. Don't exclude spells for your convenience.
Now, there's also the in my opinion, fun and interesting, because personally in my games I like challenges both the DM and the player. So I like my players to have challenge to have to deal with in the world, and I also like to have challenge to deal with as I'm playing in a world where it would be common, especially since most D&D campaigns, even if they're not set in the same setting, are usually around medieval to Renaissance era where things are a little bit less progressive, far less progressive than today, and so they wouldn't necessarily have, or not anywhere near as commonly, the kind of philosophical debates that we would generally have now. So it would make sense to have, say, necromancy or similar dark, say, like void magic or shadow magic or whatever, magic pulled from the shadow fell, or magic pulled from the hells itself, or the abyss, what have you. Anything that could be viewed as evil or linked to something that is inherently evil, say, devils and demons, like, be viewed as such.
Yes.
But as the DM, not ban outright, say, like, in this case, not ban necromancy, but say that necromancy is typically, keyword typically, or generally, viewed as evil, and then have that as something for the player who wants to fervently play necromancy as something to deal with, to either disguise or hide the fact that they use them.
Yeah. Now, again, see, again, that brings up a very good point, because I've actually seen on Roll20 people who are looking for games, looking for players, often just be like, no necromancy. Like,
I didn't know that.
Like, there's people who actually outright ban necromancy, which again is a good point. See, the thing is, as I agree with Blue, like, in my games, I'm a huge fan of necromancy, but in my games and in games that I play in, I expect for most societies to see necromancy as taboo, which again is the norm. But I do not expect the DM to enforce like the idea of necromancy is just evil. If a DM just blatantly says necromancy is evil and it is outlawed throughout the world, but the thing is now, if you have to be how should I put it? It's like what we talked about, how there are other types of necromancy schooled spells. Don't just be the type of DM that would be like, oh yeah, this necromancy magic is okay for some reason. Don't be that type of DM. Like, if you're gonna,
it'd be more interesting if there were anything other than the resurrection spells.
Yeah, like
Toll the Dead, if that were like, because that's a necromancy spell.
Yes.
It's a cantrip and whatnot. So, like, if they allowed that, but didn't allow, like, Animate Dead, I mean, they're clearly targeting something.
Yeah.
And I mean, on for me, like I wouldn't ban necromancy, and I typically don't ban specific play styles.
Mm. No, no,
For
no.
example, well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but like I wouldn't ban tools. I wouldn't ban
Yeah.
necromancy and stuff like that. But I do typically ban evil and evil-related things, mostly because that typically, as far as my experience has shown, that typically conflicts with plot usually, unless you're playing an evil campaign, or if you want to play a campaign with, say, monstrous races, what everybody is. But to me, that's more like everybody's going to be evil or everybody's going to be a monstrous race kind of thing. Otherwise, nobody is. But like, it usually has high conflicts with things that, frankly, usually detract from the fun, especially with larger groups.
Funny
And like, if
enough,
you have an evil character,
because you allow me to play evil in your games.
that's because you and myself are one of the few people I know that can do it. Also, one other friend of ours that is in, you know who I'm talking about, Deep Voice guy, that can play that alignment correctly to where it doesn't particularly conflict.
Or using it as an excuse to be an asshole.
Exactly. Which, to be frank, you could be lawful good and still be an asshole.
Oh yeah, true. Again, there's the term lawful stupid for a reason.
I'm not even talking about that. You could still be a pompous ass about being lawful good, even if you do play it right.
No, but my thing wasn't just banning necromancy, but if you have in your world where necromancy is treated with zero tolerance, then you're going to have to make it so that, like, come on, then be fair to your wizards. Like, yeah, and you may disagree with me on this, but like, in my opinion, if you're the type of DM that is going to be like, okay, animate dead and all necromancy spells are going to be viewed as evil and outlawed, then don't be the type of DM that would also say allow a player to be like, to be the type of player, the DM that has like then characters like clerics who cast resurrection and true resurrection.
Now, personally,
Or revivify.
Since clerics are the only ones that get those spells in general, I think paladins get a couple of them. But either which way, the only characters that get those spells are divine casters, and there's a huge difference. But there's a large.
It's still necromancy. It's still necromancy.
Well, here's the thing: divine versus arcane. Now, wizards don't gain access to those things. And what they typically do is artificial. It's arcane, it's man-made or elfin, it's mortal-made, if you will. What they're doing, whereas the divine magics are knowledge imparted upon the character by some deity, which is why usually you should have some kind of deity that you worship, especially as a cleric, usually also as a paladin.
Let's not open that Let's not open that can of worms. Let's not open that can of worms, because you know my view of paladins.
Well, I mean, again, they're divine casters, but that's beside the point. Point is that as divine magics, I would not like the school and the school classification of resurrection, for example, as necromancy, is simply because of how the spell works. I view more of the source as to whether or not it falls under the usual category. So, like, the resurrection spells, I would put in a different category, even though they're considered necromancy than the other normal necromancy spells. Because, I mean, if you think about it as well, a cleric, for example, is accessing the divine through the divine gate to beyond to try and pull this person's soul back to their body with, say, resurrection or what have you. And that makes all the difference, in my opinion.
Fair enough. And as I said, I said feel free to disagree with me on that. Again, it's just I wanted to stop you with the paladin situation because that will open up a whole new debate. That would.
That one's a little flip-floppy, I know.
Yeah, no, it's just because again, as I covered in my paladin video, it does state in the player's handbook that they don't need to be religious or have a god.
Well, yeah, I hold to that. I don't say have to have a god. It just they're divine casters is all I was getting at.
but folks, that's an example like right there. Like now, in terms of magic, all magic comes from the exact same source. It's called the weave. It's just that wizards harness the weave through themselves and through the study of the magic. Bards harness the weave through their notes, the pitches of their voices or instruments or whatever. Then you
It's like a cross between wizard and sorcerer.
yeah,
Actually.
whereas sorcerers have an innate born connection to the weave, and then we get the interesting characters. Now again, as Blue, as you know, I love these characters because they offer so many role playing potentials. As long as you don't ignore, you know,
Warlocks.
yeah, such as warlocks and clerics. Like for example, you know my opinion. Like don't play a cleric or warlock, and then be an asshole or dismissive of the being that is giving you your power.
And it's interesting you bring this up because again, D&D Beyond puts out videos and stuff, and not only that research, but looking through some of the stuff in the books and whatnot as well, that it is true that all magic, regardless if it's arcane or divine, is the energy itself is pulled from the weave, but the knowledge and where the source of the knowledge is usually actually what makes it difference. Like arcane, all arcane is pulled from either books, study, or innate ability. So I mean, like a sorcerer, the weave doesn't exactly give them the power. They just, they have the connection to it, but they inherently have the knowledge, and they just instinctively know how to use it.
One of my friends, he just started Dungeons and Dragons. When I talked about how sorcerers are born with this innate ability, he actually called them something that I found actually a very easy way to explain sorcerers in terms against wizards: mutants from X-Men. He basically referred to sorcerers as mutants, in a way. I was like, yeah, actually, sort of.
Somebody you could make that argument,
Yeah, you could. They just, like as I said, they're just innately connected through some sort of their blood, like their bloodline, to the weave.
But remember, it's not connected. It's they inherently or innately have the knowledge of how to use it.
Fair enough.
Because the usage of magic is what it's all about. Again, because all of the energy comes from the weave. If it weren't for the weave, there would not be any
Magic.
There would not be enough magic in order to actually use. Because the Earth itself does have magic, and it's said through some lore that druids. It's sometimes believed that druids pull from that source. But
I'm in that school of thought. I'm in that school of thought. But the thing is though, but my point is though, if you're going to allow spells like resurrection and true resurrection and revivify, then don't get me wrong, I understand where you're coming from by saying that they're channeling it through their divine patron,
there's God basically while they're praying each morning or dawn or whenever the hell they pray. They are basically communicating subtly with their deity and receiving the knowledge of what spells they want to use. That it's kind of a general idea.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is though, you're still harnessing certain types of energy through when you tap into a specific school of magic. As what we did describe earlier, that not only does necromancy tap into life energy, it taps into undead energy as well. So,
well, it's not okay, but like with that, all the schools of magic are simply classifications of how to describe how that type of magic works, or what, how do I put it? Because it's not like there's different types of energy per se in that. All of the energy from the weave is the same kind of energy. It's how you then channel it and how you direct it and you control it and have it do what you want it to do that makes it the classification or calls it that spell or whatever. So, like if you draw from that energy and make a fireball, that's different than calling that energy and resurrecting somebody or whatever, or directing that energy to access through the divine gate the person's soul and think, hey, you want to come back? or whatever. It's not exactly that they have different energies per se, really. I mean, all these schools of magic are just classifications to say this is this type of magical working.
Fair.
You know, like if you work with metal, right? There's all different types of working with metal, whether you're making armor, whether you're making weapons, or just making plates or parts or gears or what. You know, these things fall into different categories, but technicality.
But the thing is though, it's still you're still performing necromancy when you rise someone from the grave. Now again, whether or not it is sanctioned by a deity, it's still necromancy. And again, like most DMs just exclude it for convenience of the players. Like again, if you're gonna treat one thing, if you're gonna treat one use of necromancy one way, then come on, and you should really be treating all types of that school the same way. That's my thought.
I don't exactly, because again, the divine and all that nonsense. But then again, at the same time, I also implement a more in-depth resurrection requirement in the first place.
True.
I use Matt Mercer's
Same.
where it adds the depth to it.
Yeah.
And as I'm pretty sure you agree, I prefer more of the narrative of the entire thing. So the required contributions and so on and whatnot, you know.
Also, we both agree on disagree on this bit. Like in my games, I allow epic leveling. Like I allow a character to go beyond 20 in my games, as long as they can give a reason why their character is still adventuring. Also, if your character dies after he completed his goal, give a reason why he would come back to life. Just be like again, as I agree with Blue, you should think of it more of a narrative reason. Why would this character leave his resting place? Like again, if he's a good character, he's in a very good place. He's been rewarded for all the good he has done. Why would you take him away from paradise?
Maybe not. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, that and the whole entire thing depends on the player in question and the DM in question. Because what they might have done, I mean, like they might have been a good character trying to act for the good, but they might not necessarily have achieved the requirements to go there.
Fair enough.
Or maybe they encountered something that took his soul or whatever, or bypassed where it's supposed to go or whatever. But then again, I mean, like I prefer to do like Matt Mercer, and the player themselves can actually decide based on the contributions made whether or not their character would be willing, because the spell specifically states, all of them specifically state
a willing soul.
Willing soul.
Yeah.
So that's what means to be willing. So, and that, in my opinion, also actually adds the depth of actually being able to determine whether or not they're willing. More so, because then, like, if the other people who are contributing to the ritual can convince the person to come back, then you know you got that going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just adds to it, and like especially your players will get super into it and far more like, well, we did all of this extra effort to res the person, especially if it then works. Because I actually had a game recently where we did this ritual. And it didn't work because the DM ruled that natural ones were auto fails. And in the ruling for the ritual, 3 contributions, success lowers the DC, failures increase the DC. All 3 were successes, and so you only needed to roll a 1. DM rolls a 1. Because even though normally equaling or greater than the DC succeeds, it was a natural 1.
Yeah, and also, folks,
annoyed me, but like.
Also, keep in mind, folks, the reason why I agree with Blue that it's annoying, because by the Sage Advice its own ruling as well. Now, again, I break this ruling as well. Don't get me wrong. I have my own ruling, which Blue does not agree with. But again, most of my players enjoy it because it adds more excitement for them.
To an extent, as far as my one character was concerned, it was hilarious because I literally took absolute max damage and tanked it like a mother.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That
Oh my god!
as a DM who, like, you know, some would like to, you know, sometimes get the like make the players, you know, weary and be fearful especially when they're in a dungeon. That to me was just like, no, 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 go down. You know, like I don't want to kill my players, but I at least want to down one person, so you know, so that they have to get back. You know, they have to stabilize you. But no, you tank that fucker. You're like, no. But anyway, which is funny because in terms of those rulings, now again, it's a rule that it's a homebrew rule that some people got into the habit of doing unconsciously, because the whole natural 1 and natural 20 situation is only meant for weapon, melee and range attacks, both spell and weapon.
And I can actually offer reasons as to why specifically they did that, and that would be so. They still, I could imagine. Again, not sure. I haven't seen any articles posted about this, nor have I talked to anybody. But when you're in combat or whatever, and you want to still have the possibility of failure of hitting your target, and a target's AC is super low, like so low that 1 plus your bonus is going to hit no matter what, making the 1 an automatic failure, or an automatic miss anyway, I should say, still adds that percentage chance of failing. So you always will at least have a 5% chance of missing. So, I mean, to try and keep it balanced kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Now, again, mind you though, as I said, I bend that rule as well, so I allowed them outside combat as well. Mind you though, there is limitation. I do impose limitations on natural 20s, as Blue has told me a story which I'm glad, like, oh thank God I put limits on it.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yeah.
And I personally, for skill checks specifically, not initiative, but for ability checks, I do natural 1s and natural 20s. Give either a little bit of a penalty or bonus depending on the situation, what they're doing, how, you know, I mean, circumstantially it matters. Yeah. But it's not an automatic success or an automatic failure.
Now,
but it does matter.
Okay, now back onto the subject at hand. So, again, now folks, as we've said, in the end, it's your opinion. But at this moment, throughout this entire video, I think we're now reached an hour or over an hour. We have now we have given you a large number of evidence that shows that necromancy is not evil. Now, don't get wrong, some societies can still have it taboo, but the question is it evil? The answer is no. Like, it's a firm no. Again, as we said, there are many societies that would see it as taboo, and again, even some gods that may see it as inherently evil. Like, one of my DMs actually congratulated me for playing my character in Adventurers League, because of the fact that I was playing a lawful evil Zentarum character, and I'm playing a necromancer. And he was like, "Oh, okay." And as one of the characters, I believe it was a paladin, he asks my character, "Hey, I know you're an intellectual. Do you actually worship a god?" And my character was like, "Yes, in fact, I do. I worship the Raven Queen." Later on, the characters discover the particular school of magic that I'm using, especially since we are traveling with a warlock and another wizard, who they both see the spells I'm cast, and they're like, "Yeah, they roll an insight to find out what school of magic I'm using." They succeed, and they discover I'm using necromancy. And the DM was like, all the players started giving me looks, but then the DM was like, "Guys, before you end up doing anything, you might regret. It was ruled that necromancy is not evil. And no it
Not inherently, anyway.
yeah, but the thing is though, he's even apparently even in Faerun, um it's again there it's actually stated that there's no actual Firmon laws apparently that say it's completely outlawed. It is outlawed to excessively do it, but it's actually apparently not fully outlawed, because the only reason why we wizards actually even can get the spells is because the the places where you go to study magic still teach in on itself necromancy. For
Now, for like my games, I put, you know how like in Harry Potter they have the restricted section of the library. I put it in there.
oh yeah,
But still,
yeah, but it's still studied and all
you
that.
can do it.
It's just that you're only allowed to do it once you have a firm grasp. And again, as long as you don't do anything to break the law. For example, grave robbing is still against the law. But if you have the permission, like the way I rule in Tay, if you have the permission of, the person's grave or the person's family, then yeah, you can certainly use their corpse. Now, mind you, my character in Adventurers Link now has a skeleton that I took from an anime. It was a charred skeleton I found in a tomb, so I think I'm good in terms of getting permission, you know. But yeah, like again, here's the situation. I left it in the CE Inn. The DM was like, the DM even had the maid be like, "Do you want me to clean it, polish it, or whatever?" I'm just like, no. Everyone at the table was just like, the fuck? Like the maid, the maid walks in, and my character is there placing the skeleton down. I'm like, his name is Gregory. Yeah. So again, Adventurers League is the most legit. Besides from the actual streams from some of the staff of Wizards of the Coast, it's the next closest thing to the legit sort of rulings you can expect. Because Adventurers League is really strict in terms of rulings.
Very much so.
Yeah, they use a lot of the sage advice. They go strictly by sage advice and what's in the books. Their DMs of Adventurers League are generally not allowed to bend the rules. They're not. But again, so there you have it, folks. So me and Blue have both gave evidence that necromancy is not evil, but we've also pointed out that wizards calls it not evil. So for anyone who calls necromancy evil and says, "Oh, it's," and you're claiming to be by the book, you're sort of not. But the main point of this video discussion is just a more of a clarification on the more of, how should I put it, prejudice rulings on certain types of play styles, if you can call it that. Would you say, Blue?
Can you repeat that?
Would you say this discussion is more on enlightening those who may have a prejudice against specific play styles?
Well, I'm not exactly in for persuading outright necessarily. Again, because people are entitled to their opinions.
yeah.
However, I would advise people to think about all of the, I don't know if I'd say evidence, but basically all the angles of something, before,
Yeah.
I guess, prejudging something.
Or before you
I mean, like, this is a good life lesson, too.
Oh yeah.
Get proper information and be properly educated about something before just acting on it.
Yeah. Again, this video was inspired just because I thought it would be an interesting topic between me and Blue. Again, there's actually even necromancer classes on the DM Guild. I've actually recently downloaded two of them. I downloaded two of them to try out at some point. But to be honest with you, I do prefer wizards just because, well, it's a wizard.
On that, I'm still, it's in the works anyway. I'm still planning to do a necromancer that is going to kind of reflect a little bit of the idea from
Diablo
3.
Which could be fun, because again, like instead of having mage armor, you might recreate the bone armor spell that was in Diablo.
That is part of the plan.
Yeah.
But just like in Diablo, they have several builds where like one rotates around
Blood.
Well, yeah, one rotates around using your own blood, so it's a little bit more like blood magic,
Yeah.
possibly.
Then
But
there's
it's most certainly necromancy.
yeah
And then there's the one that rotates around using
bones.
corpses, and there's one rotates. Well, I guess bones, but bones I think
Um,
goes with the corpses.
no, no.
But then there's also the animate,
Yeah,
the
that's
pet builds,
yeah, that's what I was referring to. There's the pet build necromancer, then there's the bone necromancer, and then there, which is also known as the melee mancer, and then there's the blood mancer. Again, that's my understanding of the skills in that. Like that's the general styles that they're treated in Diablo 3. Is that you either use blood, you use bones, or you use actual animate the dead.
Yeah, but like, yeah. So I mean, like you could tell it's gonna take a lot of research to get this done.
Oh yeah. But again, but the thing is though, there's not. It's not. The main point is, just because someone wants to play a necromancer character in D&D, like, that does not mean they're playing an evil character. That's, and again, I'm putting this video out there mostly just as a counter argument to the narrative that a lot of, as I said earlier, a lot of big name D&D channels are putting out there, because in my opinion it's sort of false information, because you're putting out there that, oh yeah, this must be this way, but in fact, and again, you're claiming you're being supported by the rules and by what's in the books, but in the fact, the writers of said books are like, yeah, the books are not actually pushing any type of alignment when it comes to these particular spells. So yeah, this video is purely meant as a counter argument towards all those videos that are saying like, oh no, it must be evil. Now folks, my next video in terms of covering homebrew classes will be coming up soon, and we'll be covering the Dragon Knight from D&D Wiki. Now, folks, I will be putting a warning up on that just because of the fact that it is subject to change because it's on a website and not in a PDF format. So it is going to be heavily subject to change if you're going on the website. But I will possibly be giving links to my Google Drive, which has a PDF version of that class. Also, coming up will be eventually my debut series of Conan Exiles survival games. So be looking forward to that. And there's also my Ludo Sport videos coming up tomorrow as well as Thursday. And as per usual, every Friday there will be Lunar Guard Adventures. Will the party at any point use that teleportation circle that they've got into their base, thanks to a mysterious merchant? Until then, this is Wolf Ninja signing out. Actually, no. First, I want to thank Blue for once again joining me for one of my videos. Thank you, Blue.
Again, always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, and again, I love art. I actually love these sort of discussions, because again, it's not just my opinion being heard; it's actually someone else's opinion being heard as well. And again, at some point, we should get. I should keep you in mind for when I go to talk about the evil alignment or just alignments in general, because I feel like we'll have a very interesting discussion about that.
We have had very interesting discussions about alignment.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to have them on video. Mind you, though, this.
But I think the whole thing might be one video. It might get a little confusing if you separate it.
Oh yeah, the alignments will be one video. Don't worry. But yeah, and then after that, I think actually, folks, I think after alignments, all that be left to discuss on my my channel will be, I'll be going about, as I said, I'll be going about some of the rulings in the videos, of certain things, but we're getting to the point now, folks, where we're pretty much done, and then I'll be moving on to possibly the Dungeon Master's Guide, maybe Xanatar's, or even the Sword Coast. So we're actually reaching the end of Player's Handbook, because the other rulings are going to fly like that. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. At some point, I will be touching on also the gods described in the Player's Handbook. You'll be hearing some interesting information about some of the inspirational sources from when they talk about using real-life gods in your D&D game. You'll be hearing some very interesting notes, especially on the Celtic side. I'll be giving you some good old-fashioned Celtic information, which is funny because, again, I found out through my heritage that I have a lot of Celtic blood, and because of that, I went overboard in the research of the gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, for example, we have... here's a little teaser. There is a god that has no name, just the title. The Dagda. That's it.
I also like there's another YouTube personality, I suppose, maybe, I don't know, but you've seen some of his videos that does extremely in-depth research on stuff, and I've watched all his videos on the planes, and
Yes, so have I.
haven't gotten to all of them, but there's a lot about the lore of things
Yeah.
in D&D's universe. Yeah, Frank, I don't know what universe this is called, but with the Tyrell, Abir Tyrell, and so on, and it's all that.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, there'll be some interesting discussions still ahead and throughout my YouTube series in terms of D&D discussions. But as I said, we're reaching the end of terms of the player's handbook. All that's left now is after I do my last bonus class video, I'll be moving on to backgrounds. I'll be talking about equipment. Again, I'll be going through the chapters, but again, the class videos are clearly going to be the longest of those videos. So we've sort of gotten out of the way now. So it's going to be fairly quick, short videos here on out. The next longest video is probably going to be about the spells. And as I said, folks, I'll be covering the spells alphabetically, and I'll be putting up a screenshot of the spells list instead of going through them, but I will be going through the descriptions of the spells. And then after that, there's the gods and the planes. That's it. We'll be done with Player's Handbook. And we'll be then going into more depth about the Sword Coast, through the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and then we'll be moving on to other stuff. I may eventually even cover, if he releases more books, I hope he does, we'll be also talking about Taldore even, maybe. But
And perhaps if you want to do another setting, we could talk about my world, Ordos.
oh yes. Actually, I might also start a bonus YouTube series to go parallel with this. Just talk about my D&D world in general. That way, if everyone is ever joining my games, I'll be able to say, watch this video for a quick history, you know. But yeah. In the meantime, folks, this is Wolf and Ninja. Sign out. May the Force be with you, and remember, roll for initiative.